Reg and Pete from Dog Trumpet, welcome back to Australian Musician.
Good morning.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
You got a brand new album called Live Forever. Where did you record this one? Was it a home job?
Yep, home
It
job in
is.
Peter's
Yep.
bedroom.
Yeah. I've had the studio in the house now for the last 6 or 7 albums.
Oh, okay.
We've done. This is our ninth album. The first one we did in a recording studio. And then after that, it's been really sort of just like home jobs. Like a combination of 8-track reel to reels, and then a 16-track, and then that sort of went bung quite a few years back, and I crossed over to the computer, and we've been doing it on Pro Tools ever since.
Yeah. In general, how does a Dog Trumpet song come together? Do you bring your own songs to the table and throw them at each other, or do you actually write together in the room?
No, we don't so much write together. We tend to write our songs separately, but then we jam on them for a while, or maybe do a demo, record a bit of it, and then we take it from there pretty much.
You're kind of right though. We get around the kitchen table and sort of just work out different treatments for the songs, and sometimes they come up pretty quick, and sometimes they go through different manifestations, and we try different approaches, and sometimes we record them entirely differently, and end up with a something quite different from the original. But it is definitely. I mean, we've always written separately, and it seems to work. It's quite hard to collaborate with someone on the songwriting, the actual songwriting itself. But we bring things to each other's songs a lot, like as far as arrangements go and parts and all that stuff. So it definitely, it's coloured strongly by each other's contributions.
Yeah, it's a collaborative process, except for the initial, writing the actual words and melody, and then we, mess with it.
Yeah. Are you always writing, or do you just write when you think you've got an album project coming?
Oh, I pretty much. I mean, it's not like I'm writing for 10 hours a day or anything, but if I've got 2 or 3 songs on the go, I'll be chipping away at them pretty much every day.
Yeah, it is a chipping away process. Some songs take years to actually form themselves or finish themselves. And I think we've both got loads of songs that have never quite made it to the finished, to a finished assemblage of a song. That just scraps of bits that sound pretty good and then never get worked into anything. And then other times, a song can sort of come really quickly, and so there's no real rules to it. But you do have to keep at it sort of fairly consistently.
Yeah. Are you good at knowing when a song's done and to leave it alone?
Not always. I mean, we tinker with them, but I mean, look, you sort of do know when you've got enough written to make it a complete song. A lot of the time, it's like you feel. I think one of the hardest things is the lyrics, and getting enough lyrics to string together that makes it sound, like cohesive. And sometimes you don't find that extra verse or two that you feel you need, but. And in the end, it doesn't matter. You just go back to the first verse and repeat that one.
Yeah.
But look, there's no formulas for songwriting.
Yeah.
No, it's a kind of a semi-abstract, magical process to some degree. I mean, you'll often have a line or two that you might struggle with to get a decent sort of rhyme on, or make it make sense, and that can sometimes take a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can lie awake sometimes at night for hours trying to sort of, just to get one line to work, just to find the right rhyme, or not a rhyme, to break out of that sort of, out of the formula of the way, just the way the music flows and the lyrics flow, and the kind of syntax and the cadence of the words. It's really, it's a tricky thing, as Reg says. It's a magical thing, really. When you find a song that gets itself completed, it's almost like it's done itself, without you actually contributing much to it.
Yeah. What was it about the song Live Forever that you thought would make a good title track?
Well, it was, again, that was a song that we sort of demoed it probably a few years ago, and it seemed like a too sort of sprawling, disjointed, semi-prog rock sort of thing. But then when we had a look at it again and then we messed around with it and sort of tightened it up and I guess we just thought it turned out well, and we'll name the album after that one.
I remember we did an early version of it, a demo, I mean, years ago, and it was a little bit more. It was more Deep Purple than Dog Trumpet, the way we were going at it. But we revisited that song, which was in the end as far as the title track of the album, we didn't know it at the time that it was going to end up being the name of the album, but just felt like a good title for an album too, a hopeful one, being optimistic.
Yeah. The track Marianne is about Marianne Faithfull. Pete, I've seen a photo of you with Marianne. Tell me about that meeting and why did she deserve a song?
Well, look, I read her autobiography back in the early 90s, about 1994. She put out her rollicking sort of memoir called Faithful. And, she had a pretty interesting life, and a lot of people know about that. She was a teenager when she was having hits in England, and then got together with Mick Jagger and was going out with him for 2 or 3 years, and then she had a lot of problems with addiction and drugs, and lived homeless for a while in London. So all that stuff was in the book. So I wrote a song about that at the time, which we recorded with Mental as Anything in 1995 for the album Liar Liar Pants on Fire, and we sent her that version, and that version had Martin for the Mental singing my words, and she heard it, and then we got to meet her at the artist Martin Sharp's house in Sydney when she was touring.
I also noticed some Beatlesque psychedelic era moments in this album. Did the Beatles figure much in your influences?
Not hugely, but we do like we like psychedelic, 60s pop music, both of us. So we certainly consider them. There's a bit of backwards guitar in there and some effects that Peter and Declan, his son, did while they were recording.
I think that psychedelia of the 60s, something we both really like, and I guess when you do sort of go down that track, people sort of think it's Beatlesque, and I suppose it is, because the Beatles did so much of that kind of stuff. I love the sound of the Beatles. If it was the Stones or the Beatles, I'd go the Stones, but the Beatles did amazing stuff. So they're a very good. They're a good influence for a lot of people as far as what to do in the studio and trying things, experimenting.
Yeah. There are 11 tracks on the album, and Medicine Ball's a bonus track. Did you have many other tracks that you were playing around with that didn't make the cut?
There was a couple of songs that we had that we didn't quite finish or didn't quite get there.
Let's talk about some of the gear that you used. Reg, I imagine you mainly used your Strat on this album?
Yeah, mainly. I use, I've got an old Hofner too, which I play open tune slide guitar on, so I would have used that on a few tracks. And, sometimes I'll play, Peter's telly or, his Gresh and or acoustic guitar. So there are quite a few guitars on the album being used.
Yeah, Pete, I seen a clip you playing a nice Gretsch. Tell me about that guitar.
Yes. So I've got it's a Chet Atkins Gretsch that I've had for about 20 odd years. Beautiful guitar. I tend to use that more in the studio than on the road. I use the telly on the road more. It's sort of more robust, but that's also a great guitar to record with. And we've got a collection of guitars. I've got a beautiful old 1968 Fender Precision bass, which is what you generally hear on the album. Got an old Epiphone semi-acoustic bass as well. That's pretty good to record. So and I've got an op shop mandolin that I bought, a Korean-made mandolin, which is really cheap but sounds really, really good. And so I've learned to sort of get some stuff out of that. I'm not a very good mandolin player, but I've worked out how to get some quite good sounds out of it. So that's the main thing.
So how do you like to record your guitar parts? Do you ever go straight into the desk, or are you always miking amps?
Mainly a bit of both, really. Yeah, a lot of amps, but also a lot of the time, you sort of just DI straight into the desk when you're just trying out parts, just because it's quicker and less takes, it's less hard work. It's quick and easy. And sometimes that stuff, you record that stuff that you can't redo because it's the spontaneous stuff that you come up with that's often the good stuff. So yeah, a lot of that stuff ends up staying on the record too. It's a combination.
Yeah.
We also use for the amps. We've got a little Vox practice amp which we use for a lot of the stuff. Like, it sounds great with Reg's Hofner slide guitar, through it, and it sounds big and lots of grunt, but it's actually a tiny little amp. So it's funny when you record, you don't really need huge rooms with Marshall stacks. We don't do that anymore. That's for sure.
Yeah. There's some nice organ playing on the album too. Who's playing the organ?
Some of it's me and some of it's Declan, who's my son, who's now playing drums, and he's he's pretty musical all around. So he's also helped produce the album and mixed it. So I've sort of taken a back seat on the mixing as a co-pilot. But he's pretty handy, So he's good. He's good with the keyboards, and brought a synthesizer in, which was very interesting. So we added some new sounds and it adds a little bit of that extra psychedelia to it too, which is interesting because he's a lot younger than us, so he's coming at it from a kind of different angle too.
So will you bring extra keyboard sounds on the road now?
Not so far.
No, if we can afford it, we would. But it's practicality. It means that we just keep it to the 4-piece when we're on tour. And when we're playing live, we have Bernie Hayes playing bass, and then Declan and myself and Reg. So it's just the four of us, which is good, and we work well together. But look, in a perfect world, it would be nice to have some keyboards on some of the gigs, because we have got quite a few extra sounds from the keyboards, the organs and the Wurlitzer, and we've added all sorts of things actually from the keyboard. So that, you kind of have to forego that for live, but it doesn't matter. It's not like we're trying to recreate the albums or the recorded versions exactly anyway.
We tend to stick to pretty much the same arrangement as the record, but obviously the things like solos and stuff will be different or longer or shorter depending on how you feel on the night.
Yeah. When we last spoke, it was during COVID, and you couldn't really travel. Since then, you seem to be gigging more than ever. Tell me what live playing means to you.
Oh, live playing is, it's really enjoyable when it's going well, and the band's playing well, and you've got a good audience, and there's the PA's not squealing and working well, and all that kind of stuff. So I mean, it is a great magical thing again, playing with an audience and sort of having that connection. I mean, I don't particularly like the traveling and the lugging gear and the waiting around so much anymore, but it's you have to do it.
I don't think we ever like that aspect of it. I mean, when we were in the Mentals, we were sort of relentlessly touring for 20 odd years, So you get over that. I got over that. 20 odd years later, I was thinking, I'm really sick of this now. Packing up the suitcase and being on the road was starting to become like hard work. But with Dog Trumpet, it's great because we don't do it nearly as much. And when we're doing it, we're doing like 2 or 3 gigs, for a weekend. And here when we travel interstate, and usually they're interesting places, not always, but a lot of the gigs are great. So we're a little bit addicted to it, I think. Even though you have a love-hate relationship with the whole kind of all the whole sort of paraphernalia of having to go on the road.
Yeah. Any desire to play overseas these days? I guess the world is not as welcoming as it used to be.
No, well, we'd like to play overseas, but obviously, it's just too expensive to get a band out of Australia and go. I mean, we've played in New Zealand, and we played in the United States. We played at the South by Southwest Festival for 11 years ago, and that was great fun. Very, very sort of stressful and exhausting because you're doing several gigs a day, along with another 2,000 acts or something in town. So it's pretty full on. But we enjoyed that. But apart from that, we haven't done any overseas stuff.
Yeah.
That's right.
Reg, you've created the cover art again for the Live Forever album. Do you generally create a few versions of an album cover, or do you usually nail it in one?
Well, we did that one. I think we just needed an image for that particular song because when you put a song out, you often have an image with it, and then so it's a pretty simple, graphic sort of logo type of a thing. But we kind of liked it, and I did 8 or 9 versions of it, but it's pretty one of the earlier ones that we used. There's 2 versions. There's a simpler one, and there's the album cover one, which is more coloured in. So
yeah,
there are a few different versions of that.
It just had a nice simplicity. The graphic quality was really good. We thought, that makes just a really good, sort of eye-catching image, really. Something simple.
Yeah. Reg, in 1990, you were asked by Johnny Rotten to design a cover for the Public Image Limited Greatest Hits album. What was Johnny Rotten like to deal with?
Oh, I sort of didn't deal with him so much when I did the cover. It was probably more like his record company. But I'd met him earlier because they came out with Pill, and Mambo's made some suits for them, and so I had some connection. That's why they knew about my stuff in terms of asking me to do the cover. So yeah, I just sent them a few rough ideas, and then they settled on that one. But I didn't sort of deal with John Rotten specifically about that.
Yeah. So with the Live Forever album, once you've recorded it and mixed it, do you give it a spin in the car or the home stereo? Do you try different systems to see how it sounds?
Oh, you do. You try it as many places as you can, and that can get confusing because you think it sounds great on one system, and then you hear it in the car and it sounds crap. Only because I've got a really bad car system, so that doesn't sound very enhancing. So but no, you just try and get the best overall thing that sounds reasonable on most systems, and then you've got to draw the line at some stage. You go, okay, that's enough mixing, and then you have it mastered. Once it's mastered, it's done. So, and that's really the only time that we left the house was to go and get the mastering done. So the whole thing was recorded, here at home with from the drums up sort of thing. So, yeah, look, it's and it's interesting the way we work too, because we don't work as you would book a studio, for a block of 2 weeks or 3 weeks and make a record. We tend to do it over a couple of years, from album to album. There's usually 2 or 3 year a gap, and so the songwriting starts, and then we start, doing some demos, and then which often turn into the recorded versions, and just sort of keep adding to it over a period of time. So some songs are recorded quite quickly, other ones sort of they're on the go for what seems like a year and a half before they get finished.
Yeah. So playing this or going out on tour from here on, how much of the new album will you play live?
Oh, quite a bit. I think we're playing maybe 5 or 6 of the new songs.
Yeah, I think 6 or 7 by now.
Yeah. So and we'll hopefully learn a couple more. So it'll be, we'll be playing a reasonable. It's quite tricky doing our set list now because we've recorded 9 albums, and one was a double, so it's really 10 albums plus a couple of EPs, and so it's hard to fit in all the songs that you want to play. Yeah,
it's a tricky one. But I mean, we do, and we tend to do gigs where you're either doing one long set or 2 big sets too. So the 2 sets is good because you can get to spread it out and pick a few more songs out from the back catalogue. But we could almost play completely different sets from gig to gig if we wanted to.
We also play a few. We play a few of the mental songs that we both wrote as well.
Yeah. And then add a few covers in there as well.
Yeah.
So
You
it's pretty open ended.
You've both done so much in your careers. Do either of you have any unfulfilled bucket list projects in the back of the mind that you still want to get to?
No, I'm not going to join the army or become a spaceman. I don't think
No?
anytime soon.
And we're not going to become a hard rock band at this stage.
No.
We're trying. We're dipping our toes into jazz rock and prog rock. We've got a couple of songs on over the last couple of albums where we've had a little bit more extended jam sort of sections of songs that we've included on the records. Like Fucking Idiots was one with a kind of a sort of jammy middle part, and Medicine Balls on this album is the same. I think it's the longest song we've ever done, so we're very proud of that.
Yeah. All right, guys. Live Forever is out now. It's a great album, and we look forward to seeing you out on the road soon.
Oh,
yeah.
Good.
Thanks for having us on, Greg, and sorry about the technical hiccups at the start.
Yeah, my rotten phone too is useless. I'll get a new one day.
All right, guys. We'll catch you next time.
Okay. Thanks, Greg. See you later.